Hello. Before we begin, just take one breath with me. Nice deep breath in, sigh it out, and just start settling into your body. And I want you to really feel into this. Have you ever looked at your life and quietly thought, how did I get so far away from myself? Maybe you're overfunctioning, working, leading, building, achieving. And maybe from the outside, your life looks successful. Maybe it looks perfect. But internally, you feel disconnected, unfulfilled, restless, heavy, frustrated. And then the mind starts searching. What is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And why do I feel so lost? Just think about that. If that's you, this episode is for you. Because today we're talking about purpose, but not in the motivational way, the surface level way. We're talking about why so many intelligent, capable people lose connection with themselves and what it actually takes to reconnect. Welcome to the Aligned Human Project podcast, where consciousness meets creation and hustle gives way to harmony. I'm Dawn Elgin, contrarian soul guide, spiritual CEO, and founder of Practical Spiritualism. This is a space where we explore what it truly means to be human, aligned, awakened, and in flow with the field of life itself. Together, we'll bridge science and spirit, energy and embodiment, purpose and prosperity, so you can remember who you are beneath the programming and reclaim the power to create in full alignment with your soul. Because the next evolution of humanity isn't out there, it's in here. This is the Aligned Human Project. Hello, and welcome to the Aligned Human Project podcast, where consciousness meets creation and alignment becomes a way of life. I'm your host, Dawn Elgin. And today we're going into something I think millions of people are quietly experiencing right now. The feeling of being disconnected from your own life. Not because you're broken, but because survival became louder than truth. So let's start here. I don't actually believe most people are lost. I think most people are overloaded, overstimulated, overperforming, overthinking, overcommitted, overidentified with survival. And eventually, the nervous system gets so consumed with managing life that people stop hearing themselves clearly. This is one of the hidden costs of chronic stress. Not just burnout, disconnection. What do I mean by disconnection? I'm talking about leaders functioning while internally exhausted. And when I say leaders, I can be talking about leaders in business. I can be talking about leaders in families, parents, teachers, nurses, doctors. We often don't think of ourselves as the leader of our life. We're often functioning while internally exhausted. And rather than accepting what season we're supposed to be in, that maybe it's supposed to be winter, maybe we're supposed to be doing a bit of rest and reset, we just keep pushing and driving, and we can't seem to stop. I also mean people consuming endless information, but never listening inward. So think about it. We are reading the next book, listening to the next podcast, watching a YouTube, asking ChatGPT, and we're getting all this information, but we're not listening. Does this resonate with me? And it's okay for it to be uncomfortable, but does it feel like it's truth? And then if it does hit, do we actually stop to embody it? There's also the constant drive for achievement without any aliveness. We just keep driving and driving, but we've forgotten our purpose, our why behind it. And so we're constantly doing, and yet we never feel truly connected. And this was my life. 10 years ago, on the outside, my life looked amazing, very successful, had an amazing partner, still do, my husband. We had 2.5 kids because I have a French bulldog. We had everything that people told us you're supposed to want. Great job, great family, beautiful house, get to go on vacations. All the things I thought my whole life. I grew up poor, single mom, only child, ended up becoming a single mom with a single child, ended up becoming bankrupt, went through all of it. And so then we compensate and we drive and we push. And at first, it's to give my son a good life and to be able to take care of myself and to take care of the two of us. But then it keeps going and it keeps going. And suddenly it was 10 years ago and everything looks great. And inside, I didn't feel fulfilled. I loved what I did or aspects of it. And yet something was off. Here I'd worked all my life to have everything I had, and yet I didn't have time for my children. I didn't have time for a good conversation and connect with my husband. Things were off. I was constantly busy. You cannot hear your deeper truth clearly in chronic internal noise. Now, this is where science really matters and how it supported me in coming back into a sense of alignment. You see, your nervous system directly shapes your perception. When your body perceives ongoing stress, the brain shifts resources toward survival, toward threat detection, prediction, control, problem solving, and urgency. Your eyes overfocus. This involves systems connected to the autonomic nervous system, stress hormones, emotional processing, and intentional filtering. So in short, stress narrows our awareness. It prioritizes what keeps me safe right now, not what feels meaningful, what feels aligned, what feels true. This is adaptive short term. But when stress becomes chronic, people begin living almost entirely through our survival cognition. That looks like always managing, reacting instead of responding, performing, preparing. How many fake conversations have you had today? And eventually, the deeper internal signal gets drowned out. This is one reason that burnout often creates existential crisis. Because once the striving slows, people realize they no longer know how to hear themselves. And then identity gets layered on top of that. See, many people aren't living from truth. They are living from adaptation. And really, I should say they are living from maladaptation of identities or the roles they felt they needed to take on to survive in their families, at work, or with friends. Identities such as the achiever, the perfectionist, the caretaker, the fixer, the survivor, the people pleaser. And these identities often are formed intelligently. They were adaptations to environments, expectations, pressure, emotional survival, or even belonging. So eventually people stop asking, what is true for me? And they start asking, who do I need to be to succeed, survive, or be accepted? And that's where disconnection begins. So we'll go back to that 10 years ago. And I was terrified to slow down. It was uncomfortable to not have drama and chaos in my life. It was uncomfortable for my nervous system because it's what it knew. It'd been living that way for a long time. And I was also uncomfortable because I had an identity that was fused with my productivity. So I wore busy like a badge of honor. I bragged that I worked 60 to 80-hour work weeks. Not healthy. And there's times where we need to push and do these things, especially if we're in a startup or a new business, that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong. There's moments that we need to do that, but it's designed to be in a short-term push, not to be in a zone like this where we live like this for decades at a time. And when we live like this, what ends up happening is leaders start recreating survival cultures. So we recreate the trauma that we grew up with. We recreate it in the relationships, in the staff that are around us, in our coworkers, our partners. We will even look at it even as employees. We will look for somebody that will fulfill a role that we're even unaware of. So start looking at the people around you and ask yourself, who does this person remind me of? Is it an ex? Is it a parent? Maybe a sibling? Who around you is mimicking a previous relationship that this is a hope subconsciously to gain closure over? Because see, that's what we'll do. We'll recreate our trauma and our drama over and over, whether that's at work or at play. And this is the problem with living in a survival mode, is we will keep going back to what we know, even if it's dysfunctional. And when we're leading from a survival culture, then teams start operating from fear and proving. So we just recreate it. Many organizations are full of survival identities, managing other survival identities. And this is also why mindset matters so deeply. Many people think mindset is just positive thinking. It is not. Mindset is often a deeply conditioned way of interpreting yourself and the world. And much of that conditioning begins early in life through criticism, comparison, even achievement pressure. What about emotional safety or the lack of it? It's created through belonging dynamics and praise patterns. Over time, people begin building identities such as, I'm only valuable when I succeed, or if I fail, I lose worth. If I struggle, something is wrong with me. I have to prove myself, or I can't let people see my mistakes. That is often fixed mindset, not just mentally, but emotionally and physiologically. Because when the nervous system experiences mistakes, failure, or visibility as danger, growth itself can feel threatening. And many adults are still trying to create a new life through a mindset built to survive the old one. We don't realize that certain behaviors, such as perfectionism, is actually a protection. Just think about that. Maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody around you that's a perfectionist. Does it look healthy? That is a sign of maladaptation, and it comes as a protective mechanism, usually from feeling criticized or not feeling like you're enough. Or the fear of judgment. I myself spent years not wanting to be visible because I didn't want to be judged and found lacking. Even things like avoiding risk, needing to have plans A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Or imposter syndrome, where we feel like we're not enough, we don't fit. Often we as adults are still trying to earn our worth. Growth becomes difficult when the nervous system experiences change as danger. And this is where the 5 elements becomes incredibly powerful. Ancient Taoist wisdom understood something modern cultures often forget. People adapt differently under stress. Some people become relentlessly driven, always pushing, always striving, always forcing outcomes. And that's often a wood imbalance. Pressure, frustration, even our achievement that is tied to our value, to our worth. Some people overthink and caretake, holding everyone together while quietly depleting themselves. That reflects an earth imbalance, worry, overgiving, and an emotional heaviness. Is the weight even yours to carry? Some become scattered and overstimulated, always moving, reacting, chasing stimulation. And that can reflect fire imbalance, a restlessness, dysregulation, and a lack of grounding. And then some become rigid and perfectionistic, trying to create safety through control. That reflects mental imbalance, self-criticism, grief, fear of imperfection. Usually they don't feel like they belong. And then some collapse into fear, hesitation, mistrust, exhaustion, or withdrawal. And that reflects water imbalance, depletion, nervous system fatigue, and a lack of inner safety. Different adaptions or maladaptions, same root truth. The system adapted to survive. And now this is where field and form ties everything together. So your inner field, which includes your emotional state, thoughts, identity, beliefs, ego, nervous system patterns, stress responses, they all shape the form of your life. So if the field is survival, life will organize around survival. But when the field begins to shift towards coherence, presence, and truth, we get regulation, self-awareness, and responsibility, the ability to respond. Clarity emerges, and then purpose emerges. Not because you forced it, because the noise stopped running that system. So let me ask you this. What if you're not actually lost? What if your nervous system has simply been too overwhelmed? Too overwhelmed to hear your own truth clearly? And what if your purpose is not something you find, but something you remember? So with that, let's make this real. Go ahead and take a breath. Start to slow it down. Breathing all the way down into your belly. Inhaling and allowing your pelvis and your belly to fill and expand. And as you exhale, allow them to gently contract, to retract. Just feel that rhythm, that ebb and flow with your breath. And now ask yourself, where in my life do I feel the most disconnected right now? Work, relationships, joy. How about your body? Purpose. It's okay if there's more than one. And now ask, what mode have I been living in? Keep breathing. Pressure, fear, overgiving, perfectionism, maybe survival. Just notice. Stay with the breath. Let it anchor you. And now ask, when do I feel most like myself? Not the most productive. Not the most impressive. The most true. When do you feel the most like yourself? Just pause there. Breathe into that and just acknowledge it. And now ask, what is one small aligned step I already know I need to take? And just listen. If you have the space to do it, you can pause here and even do some brain dumping and journaling on it. Remember, you are not broken. You are not failing. And you are not lost. You are likely overstimulated, overidentified with survival, and disconnected from your own signal. Purpose is not something you invent. It is what emerges when the noise quiets enough for your truth to be heard again. Awareness changes the field. And when the field changes, the form follows. And if this conversation resonated, I want to invite you to take my free 5-element alignment assessment. It's designed to help you better understand your stress responses, your patterns, your emotional tendencies, your leadership style, and your survival adaptations, and even the unconscious ways you may be recreating the struggles in your life, work, and relationships. Because self-awareness changes everything. It's the first step. And the more clearly you can see your patterns, the more consciously you can begin shifting them. You'll find the link below. And if you want to go deeper, this is the work we do inside Align Your Life and the Aligned Human Project and Alignment Operating System, helping leaders and teams stop recreating trauma patterns in the workplace and in their lives and start leading from alignment instead of survival. If you're here to build a life that does not cost you your nervous system, to lead, to love, and create from alignment instead of exhaustion, you are in the right place. This is practical spiritualism. This is the Aligned Human Project. And this is where we stop abandoning ourselves and start remembering who we are. Alignment isn't something you achieve. It is something that you practice. So keep pausing, keep feeling, and keep choosing. You are the witness. You shape the field, and the field shapes your life. You are not here to fix yourself. You are here to remember yourself. Because when you align with your truth, everything else begins to align with you. If this episode sparked something inside you, hit follow or subscribe and share it with someone walking their own path of awakening. And if you're ready to go deeper, you'll find free resources, programs, and community spaces waiting for you at practicalspiritualismco.com. Remember, alignment isn't a place you reach. It's a practice you live. So keep pausing, keep feeling, keep aligning. You are the field. You shape the form.